Yo, what is up? Welcome back. We are joining you right after the Celtics won a 138-129 victory over the Orlando Magic. Third meeting of this team this year. Biggest storyline I think coming out of this game is going to be Queta going down 6 minutes in, and the Celtics really needing to pivot to kind of a center by committee strategy for the rest of the game, where we saw a lot of Chris Boucher, a lot of Josh Minot. Matt, let me start by asking you, is the backup center we have been looking for this season really just friendship all along?
I think it's friendship all along. It's the team rebounding that we met along the way.
Hmm?
Um,
Yeah.
I think that might be it. And outside of that, it's not looking great.
No, no.
Here's hoping for a quick recovery. I don't know if you were watching on League Pass, but on the NBCS broadcast, they never really gave an update during the game. They were like, he never came out of the locker room, but there
Yeah.
was no, it was like he's questionable to return the whole game, and there was never anything beyond that.
Joe
So
didn't know anything at post game either. So I think
yeah,
he maybe
here's
went
hoping
home.
it's
I don't
just like a
know.
turned ankle and that he's back soon. But I did think it showed it was a really interesting game after that at like the center position for us. It did not go the way that I think any of us expected of like Luca Garza is going to play at all, which didn't happen. Um, so I think it's
Can
going to
I?
be
I'm gonna
yeah,
throw out
go
a
go
hot
ahead
take.
cuz yes. Yeah, hit
Okay.
me with it.
If I'm the NBA, I'm fining Joe Mazzulla after this game.
Okay.
I mean this seriously.
Yeah.
Because, listen, um, Hugo Gonzalez didn't play
Mhm.
for like 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
We see it reported out that he's still walking with a limp. So he's like on the injury list, but we're not putting him on the injury list. Luca Garza and Xavier Tillman are clearly injured and not even sitting on the bench during games.
Luca
But you can,
Garza was in and off the bench. He was like in the
yeah,
locker room, then on the bench, then back in the locker room throughout the whole game.
yeah, because he's probably getting treatment for some lower body injury.
Yeah.
But I could go right now and bet on Luca Garza's unders because he's not on the injury report.
Mhm.
And with like the betting scandal that just happened, if you have 3 players injured and you're not listing them on the injury report, and everybody in your training staff knows they're injured, everybody in your coaching staff knows they're injured, you're really playing with fire, I think, at this point. It
And
may
this is
seem like a trivial thing because it's Luca Garza, but as we saw with like DeJounte Porter, you could make real money with the information if you know if Luca Garza is playing or not. So him kind of trying to play this mind game, which I think might have worked in a way, where the Magic started Orlando Robinson thinking we were going to come out with more, just try to play our bigs, when we kind of, in that's late first, early second quarter, we're able to just kind of run them off the court until they adjusted. Um, yeah, if I'm the NBA, I can't allow that to happen right now with all the publicity around it.
yeah, so here's the problem with the whole sports betting thing, which like I've always been a proponent of. I think sports betting is fun outside of, it's never ruined my life. I do understand it does have that impact on others, but
I'm up $62 all time. So
that's what I'm saying. Like there, if you're doing it reasonably with moderation and you're able to control it, it is just fun to be able to like, hey, I really am gonna be like watching this game to see if Luca Garza gets 6 rebounds or 5, like whatever. Um, but they've opened a can of worms that they're really not prepared to address, and it is exactly this issue of Luca Garza, of Xavier Tillman, who has not been listed on the injury list for like 6 games and like was getting minutes for us to start the season and just is not being plugged into games. Any like, and we saw it with, again, it could be anybody. In Portland, you saw it with Chauncey Billups, but you're seeing it like anybody in the Celtics organization who places a single bet, now it's like a league-wide scandal. And I think that that is happening on every single team around the league, and that's not super sustainable. I'm not sure what measures the NBA can come up with to address that, but I think the important thing to note here is Luca Garza runs so goddamn fast that
Maybe we didn't even see him.
yeah, no, that he's somehow injured himself and nobody noticed. We
Notice.
just talked about the fastest player on the Celtics, Luca Garza. Um, yeah, I don't
Yeah, just
really
to be clear,
understand. And like Ugo got 10 minutes. It seems like he is getting run and getting limited minutes, but
plus
might not
nine
be
and 9 minutes.
healthy. Yeah, he's Ugo does what Ugo does, and we love to see it every minute he's
We'll
on the
go do
floor.
it.
I wish it was 29 minutes, but again, he is hurt but is playing, and
I
Luca
think he's
Garza
recovered
isn't
now,
hurt
but
but isn't like it's bizarre.
and just to be clear, I don't think anybody in the Celtics organization is betting on Luca Garza's unders.
No,
But if
I'm
that
going to start.
information, we could. We
Yeah,
if we had
100%.
known a few hours ago that Luca Garza was secretly injured, then we could have put a bunch of money on this, and
I gotta find out
then
what the
it's a
lines
big
are on
scandal.
Xavier Tillman's unders for every game moving
I don't
forward.
know if you can bet Xavier Tillman at this point. They might have taken him off. But Luca Garza, you could bet like under 2 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So like said, I don't think anybody's actually using this for financial gain, but it's one of those rules that I think they're going to become much stricter about. And I'm kind of surprised to see Joe kind of playing with fire at this point. Um, who's your starting center against the Pistons on Wednesday if you're Joe Mazzulla? Because I think we played really well tonight, considering that we just didn't have a big on the floor. But this is really the team you want to go up against if you don't have a big. Their first, second, and third centers are all out. Their starting power forwards out. Um, that we were able to just kind of go no bigs against no bigs and be fine. If we do this against Jalen Duren on Wednesday, he's going to get 40 rebounds.
I think he's gonna get 40 rebounds. Like I think my over under for his rebounds in the next game is gonna be probably like 17 and a half. I do think it was interesting you said that if Orlando knew that Luca Garza wasn't playing, that Xavier Tillman wasn't playing, Orlando Robinson played for the Magic tonight because that was all they had at the center position, and I thought he did a decent job. He only ended up with 13 minutes, and they were mostly first half minutes. That second quarter, clearly it got away from them, but I thought Orlando Robinson, for the most part, did okay in those minutes. I don't think that that
I
necessarily
wish we had
was
him against Detroit.
I straight up, yeah, 100%. Going into our game against Detroit, you hope and you pray that Queta is fine, and that this was more of a precautionary thing. I think who knows, like that's also part of what's frustrating is because he wasn't listed on any injury report or anything like that. We don't know what's going on with Luca Garza. So it's kind of like all speculation on when he might return, whether he'll be available for Detroit. Um, if he's not, I think
If it's a major injury, I would assume he would get listed in some way, or
yeah, but
now it
with
would be
those little like
clear.
ticky tacky injuries that you just want to give him like a little bit of rest to
Rest.
recover and fully rehabilitate it, does that mean one game against Orlando, or is it going to be like this week? And not having clarity on that, I think, makes it difficult to kind of predict lineups. I think we might just
I think
have
my
to go
real
small.
question is, yeah, do you start a Garza or a Boucher at center, or do you go with the Jordan Walsh, Josh Minot front court?
Well, that's where it's like, is Garza available on Wednesday? That gives him
Let's
three
say he's
days.
available.
If
Let's.
he's available, I think you do start him. If anything, because we've talked about Luka Garza is a far better offensive rebounder than defensive rebounder. I think at least that way you're kind of taking some boards out of Duran's hands. And Detroit is a big team. They're a physical team. They attack the boards and they're very good at it, especially Jalen Duran. Um, so I think it's you're trying as hard as possible, and I think to their credit, from the beginning of this season, this team has made like leaps and bounds progress with the team rebounding, and even when they're getting beat size wise and physicality wise on the floor, they've managed to stay relatively even with their opponents in rebounding, and so you hope that they're able to do that. You hope that they're able to get 6 rebounds out of Derek White and 7 rebounds out of Sam Hauser and just kind of 5 out of Jordan Walsh and kind of patchwork their way into staying competitive in that sense. I don't think there is a body. Chris Boucher had probably the most minutes that he's had of any game this season today,
14
14.
minutes, one and
And
one stat line,
just,
1 and 1,
yeah,
1
he
1
did
1
get a
1.
block, a steal.
Yeah,
Overall, wasn't super impressed. Didn't feel like he was very impactful on the floor. Um, so I don't expect him to necessarily be the answer on Wednesday. I think if Luka Garza is healthy and playing, he probably gets 20 to 25 minutes. But I kind of think you just lean into playing a little bit smaller and have Walsh and Minot out there together as kind of like longer wings who can rebound a little bit better and hope that I mean that's been a combination that has worked even if it doesn't necessarily match up to Jalen Duran's sheer rebounding ability.
yeah. I think I start Minot at center. He played really well in that position tonight. He was getting a ton of great looks from that dunker spot, and you could tell
The
having a center on him was just awesome for his game because he was just able to run to the open space and be 10 steps ahead of the guy. The other thing that does is it forces Detroit to make a decision where they're starting Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duran right now, which if you have two, Jalen Duran's really fast, but if you have Isaiah Stewart playing your four, can you have both those guys sprinting up the court all night? And then I kind of save Luca Garza as a bench guy because I think if you start Luca Garza, he's going to foul out before half. The other thing I would do is just pull up Amari Williams from the G League. Like that
A
call
hundred
should have
percent.
already been made.
Yes. Yeah. And I am excited for that. I we texted during this game, and it was like, oh, Queta, again, we hope that it's not a serious thing, that Queta's back soon, but this is like I do really want to see Amari Williams get NBA minutes and see what we kind of have with him.
Yeah, and if you were
Um,
waiting for an injury, this is going to be the injury. Like,
yes, a
I
hundred
just don't
percent.
know what this team looks like without Queta.
It is tough because I really think it's difficult in an era where numbers are very inflated in the NBA because pace is so much higher and just, like sheer number of possessions and shooting and everything like that. But I thought Cato was building like a really quiet, subtle, like a legitimate case for like most improved player is like a key part of a team that right now is kind of overperforming expectations or at least meeting like the most optimistic expectations for this season and wouldn't be doing that without Kata. So yeah, hope he's back soon, but looking forward to getting some of Amari Williams minutes. I do think running any team up and down the floor, I think we are uniquely capable of doing that with the kind of youth and energy that we have. Again, like all those energy wings that we love talking about are all like 22 years old. Like those guys can run as much as we need them to in ways that teams that are more comfortable playing like a more slow half court offense, like established. We play, we use our bigs as bigs in a more traditional sense. I think there's upside to that. Um,
Yeah, I think part of it's also just being unpredictable. Like, I'm already
yeah,
penciling in my head Detroit being a schedule loss if Queta doesn't play. Um, but I think we'd have a better chance if we're just kind of running, shooting threes, like having a lot of energy out there, because then Detroit has to figure out a way to play against that. When if we start Luca Garza, I mean Luca Garza was on that team for like 2 years. Like Jalen Duren's gonna know how to cook Luca Garza. That's probably gonna be his easiest starting matchup of the year.
Well, I think that's something that is kind of the case I've been making all year is like this team is at its best when we're just like embrace the chaos, be unpredictable. And like that just is it's not going to happen if we're playing traditional like Anthony
Being like
Simons
having a
yeah.
lot of energy and being unpredictable can get you to like 43 wins. I don't know that it's a good strategy to be like a playoff team or a playoff contender, but if like people are down and you just have like these long wings, that's kind of who you got.
Yeah, I mean, in the
What
past,
did
we've talked about the hospital Celtics, where like we would have teams that we would just be down like a Rob Williams, or we would be down an Al Horford for like a couple weeks, and it would just be like, all right, let's just be fucking crazy and dive for loose balls and like pull out wins all over the place. And again, those teams might not have made finals, but they made conference finals. Like they were
well,
capable of making regular season kind of streaks and usually ending up in that top of the Eastern Conference tier. Um,
I mean those teams also had Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown on them. No,
yeah, but that was before they were making all NBA like all star like those were much younger teams that relied a lot more on kind of the defense and energy than just raw talent.
that's true, but they did have offensive creation. And I think that's kind of what I've talked about us balancing when the decisions between like a Jordan Walsh and a Sam Hauser. Um, that you still need some shot creation out there, and with Jason Tatum, obviously you can get a lot of defense and a lot of offense out of him because he's an MVP caliber player. Um, what did you make of Anthony Simons' night? I think this was probably his best game as a Celtic from my perspective.
Um, I agree. Great shooting performance. I thought he it's difficult to measure. Like, I came into this game thinking it's going to be difficult to take anything away from this game because Orlando is missing four of their best seven players. Um, it did feel like we were playing half of an NBA lineup and then a bunch of guys who were like G League
Their
caliber
G
guys.
League guys played better than their
They're and that's kind of what I'm getting at here of like I thought it would be difficult to take something away from this game. What I took away from this game, and we talked about this the last podcast that we did after Jalen Brown had kind of talked about energy and intensity level and stuff like that. This team absolutely plays down to competition. Um, which like on the flip side, hopefully they play up to better teams like Detroit and seeing these next
yeah,
games, this next streak that we're heading into, hopefully we elevate to meet that because we sure as hell followed Orlando into hell today.
I don't know that I think two things there. One, I don't think we can say we play down to competition if we're not beating the good teams either. Like in past years, the last two at least, we would have a few games where we just like put up a stinker versus like the Nets or one of those old Orlando teams. But back then we were also beating all the other top teams and we're like a one or a two seed. This year we don't have the wins over the best teams. So if we're losing to lower competition, it might not be that we're playing down. It might just be that this team is a 500-ish basketball team. I that last quarter when Chet Howard was just going off, um I thought they were playing with a lot more energy than their starters, which was interesting to me. I know on the broadcast they brought up a lot that Chet Howard just got his
Option declined.
option declined for next year. Um,
So when are we getting
he's in
Jet
it.
Howard?
When are we getting Chet Howard? No, I don't. But he's one of those guys who's just been buried on that team because they have so many guys who play the same position, like Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Tristan da Silva, all those like 6'9" wings who can score a little with the ball in their hand. So I think those guys, it's another example where everybody in the NBA is really good at basketball. They
Hmm.
wouldn't be in the NBA if they weren't really good at basketball. So when somebody you don't have a scouting report is scoring all these points and the team is playing in an unpredictable way, teams will go on runs. And no matter where they are in the standings, teams find ways to go on runs and come back into games. I didn't necessarily think that that fourth quarter was like a huge collapse. It did feel like we maybe took our foot off the gas a little when we were up 20 and the Magic took all of their starters out. Um, but Jaylen Brown was just able to kind of go unconscious from the mid range and shoot us back into it.
Yeah, I think, well, this is, and even going into that fourth quarter before the collapse officially started, I had texted you and I stand by this. Like, people aren't going to talk about this because it looks like we're coasting to a blowout, but we're playing horrendous fucking defense.
I think we were playing horrendous defense the whole time. I mean, they scored 128 on us. We
Yeah,
just
and I
kind of
think,
made the decision to go all offense in this game, which worked in the short term. I don't know that it'll work against many other teams.
yeah, I think we decided to go all offense and still like barely squeaked by a team that again had like four NBA starters, and not a whole lot else. Three guys off of their bench had career highs tonight. Like three guys had career highs because we were just like, oh, we're just gonna leave him open. And yeah, he's scored 20 points in the fourth quarter. We're just gonna keep leaving him open. Um, like we turned Jet Howard into LeBron James in the fourth quarter, and it was bizarre to watch. Um, and that's what I mean when I say like we were playing down to their level of like there was no intensity of like we have a 20-point lead, we're just gonna like keep our foot on their neck and like make a statement of like yeah, we really like fumbled one to the Nets and we're not gonna, like it was that Jaylen Brown, like we're not gonna be that team on a consistent basis. And it was like, we're having fun on offense, so like we don't really need to play defense. Like it was
I don't know. I think
difficult
it
to
was
watch.
more when the Magic pulled all their starters and we were up 23. We were two possessions away from pulling all our starters as well. Like we were basically in, Hugo Baylor Shireman put up some shots minutes. So I
Which
think
is
when
what
you're
I
just kind
wanted.
of
I wanted that fourth quarter to be like, let's pull all our starters and like let Ugo and Jordan Walsh, like let's see what they do with the ball in their hands for a whole quarter and everything. I was already worried, like going into that fourth quarter, of like, we're just letting Orlando shoot any shot they want in the whole wide world, and that doesn't seem like a good idea. And then Orlando did show us that it is in fact not a good idea at against any team in the NBA. You shouldn't let your opponent get any shot they want at any point they want, regardless of how good you're feeling about how you're playing on the offensive end. Um,
Yeah, what I'm saying is it was essentially garbage time. Jet Howard came in pretty hot. Like he hit his first shot coming into the game. And NBA teams are going to go on runs. Like just don't know what we can take from that fourth quarter stretch.
I mean, I think it's like
Like,
it's we gave up 32 in the third quarter. We gave up 30 in the second quarter. Like we did play bad
right.
defense that whole game. Like it wasn't,
Yeah.
it's going to be
No, if you
about
want to
like
talk
they
about the
almost
defense,
collapsed
yeah.
in the fourth quarter, and that's kind of like I want to talk about like it was bad defense end to end. And I think it like at a certain point it was just kind of a, we don't care that we're playing bad defense because our offense is clicking. And I think that's what bugged me.
Yeah, I think you're putting like a narrative on it about like them choosing to play bad defense. I think when you go from a system where we're trying to funnel guys to a rim protector and then you don't have a rim protector. I think a lot of guys played good one-on-one defense in this game, but we really didn't have much of a scheme other than try to hustle, I guess. And we were running up and down the court trying to speed up their offense, and they were speeding up ours. So it was just kind of a road race. And when those games happen, both teams get a lot of open looks.
Yeah, I just think we had significantly better defensive play. Like we had guys who were out there specifically to play defense, and just somehow every one of Orlando's guys was open for three whenever they wanted to be. And I think that was tough because this should have been a game that we were able to put away really early and just like maintain. And I like, again, every team is going to go on runs, but it like at a certain point it felt inevitable that Orlando was going to close that gap because we had built like a 16-18 minute stretch of just like Orlando is gonna score anytime they want to, and we're just gonna have to score too. And like that is tough because the minute you start missing like two shots, three shots, five shots, all of a sudden that lead is like almost instantly gone because you haven't tried to stop them in five possessions. Um, yeah,
I think the biggest difference from this game was the pace for me, where leading up we were either the worst or among the three slowest pace teams in the NBA this year. We talked a lot in training camp about trying to be a faster team and really speeding up our guys, which hasn't really happened to this point in the season just because we're so ISO dependent, especially Jalen Brown and Anthony Simons. Like when they ISO, they like to take dribbles before they shoot, which slows down the offense. And then our pace is lower. And when your pace is lower, you force the other team to play against a set half court offense. Where in this game, half court defense, where in this game, we were just running and random stuff was happening. And when that happens, like you increase your offensive efficiency by getting open shots, but you also increase their offensive efficiency by trailing the play a lot of times. So I think that's when Queta comes back, I expect us to revert, but it's something we kind of need to keep in mind. And learning to play that style of up and down sort of defense. Derek White had a lot of great moments, I thought, in this game, doing like sort of chase down rim protection, which he's just the best at, and we can't
he's
really
so good.
teach. But I do think that the longer they're in the league, those are kind of the little skills that I'd like to see a Jordan Walsh or a Josh Minot really pick up.
Well, I think that's why I was disappointed because like that's what they've been good at. Like whether or not Cato is healthy when he hasn't been on the floor when we've been running the like Josh Minot at the five lineups, Ugo and Jordan Walsh and Minot like their whole thing this entire season like has been we're gonna create chaos, push the pace, force turnovers, and like play chaotically fast and running up the floor, creating opportunities that way, and they've been able to do that in a way that like clearly stemmed from defense and like still had speed, still had pace, still like created natural like free flowing offense, but didn't come at the expense of the defense. And it felt like tonight it was like, yeah, we're still gonna have like chaotic offense and we're just gonna like find people open, but it wasn't coming from defensive intensity. It was just coming from like the ball's just all over the place and we're not really like forcing stops the way that those guys have shown they're capable of doing against like better competition than they played against tonight.
Well, I think there's a big difference between playing Jordan Walsh at center for the 2 minutes to end quarters to go on like try to kind of inspire like an offensive run and needing to rely on a 6'8" guy as your center all game. I really liked what I saw from Josh Minot tonight. I thought this was one of the few recent games where we've seen him actually outplay Jordan Walsh in
Yeah.
that sort of like big wing defender battle. 16 points, 7 rebounds, went 2 for 3 from the 3 point line. So, probably his best offensive game this year. He looked super comfortable in that kind of big man role where he was in the dunker spot, running out for three, setting picks. Um, what did you make of him, and do you think he has more potential at the big positions than as a wing player?
I think the big thing that you said is just like all you need to say is like dunker spot, dunker spot, dunker spot. He was extremely comfortable there, and early on, like his first few minutes in the game, you had Jalen Brown repeatedly, and I think Derek White as well, finding him in that dunker spot for just easy, super quick layups that he just snuck behind the defender, which is kind of what I've been asking for, like from him and from Jordan, of like back cuts and like finding those little like slip screen openings behind the defender. He thrived in that role. He clearly like caught a rhythm, hit his first three, had two of those kind of dunker spot quick layups, and then at that point was like pretty early in the game in his first few minutes was like heat checking threes and hitting them. His second one. And so I thought he showed a lot there and just was incredibly comfortable in that role. I don't know about him necessarily if that translates to like him as a big or a makeshift big. I do think if you're putting him, if you're kind of playing him at the four, and having him just live, like I think he can get to that dunker spot anytime he wants, really. And I do think this, it also helps that this was maybe Jalen Brown's best playmaking game of the season.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Ended with 8 assists, and so I think it really helped Josh Minot that Jalen Brown was looking to find him in that spot. And if that's something that we can continue, if Derek White and Peyton Pritchard can kind of keep their eyes on that spot when he's in the game and are able to like find him open for more of those quick layups, I think that just adds another element to our offense as a whole and really like lets Josh Minot thrive.
I think the issue is if he's playing with a big on the court, then he can't be the one in the dunker spot when we're playing four out. Because
Unless it's
Nemise Queta
Luca
on the perimeter,
Garza who can
unless
who
it's a
can
stretch
pop.
big,
Yeah.
because that's was a big value in having Al Horford on this team was you could put somebody else in the dunker spot, which we did
Yeah.
a lot with like Drew Holiday. Um, so yeah, he can get some of those minutes when Luka Garza's on the court, but if we don't have like a new stretch big come in who can kind of fill that Al Horford role, I think that's going to be a very limited skill set on this team unless we can, get a high level stretch big from somewhere, which would be great for a lot of players and open up a lot of room.
So here's the thing: is Nemise Queta? I don't know if you saw, but he once went 6 for 6
Six
in pregame 3 pointers.
pointers.
So I think we should be good
I don't
on
know.
that regard. Can
Any
Amari
day now.
Williams shoot? Like, nah, no, but
Not
we'll
really,
see.
no.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I thought this was a great Jalen Brown game.
Yes.
There was a few quarters he wasn't super aggressive. I was a little surprised he ended up with 35, and it was just to squash
He.
that comeback
Yeah, I
attempt at
think
the
he
end.
needed all of
Like
those 35 by the end.
he would have ended up with 22 if they didn't come back at the end. A little bit of his playmaking reminded me a lot of like 2022 Jason Tatum, where he would ISO, look around, and then just hit the open man. That he's kind of starting to get comfortable enough in that lead scorer role that he can take a beat and say, like, do I want to score on this guy, or am I gravitating enough attention right now that I can just kick it to Derek White and make like a really simple pass for an open three.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've talked about. Like, Jaylen Brown might just be what he is in terms of a playmaker. Like, he's never going to be that kind of, I'm going to manipulate the entire defense to create open shots for people, but I do think he can find open shots when they're there and is able to, again, make simple passes. And some games, like, that's really all you need. You don't need Jaylen Brown to get 10 assists, but on games where he's able to just, like, throw out 8 dimes, that's always really
Huge.
helpful. Yeah.
And then they have to single cover him, and
Yes, and
he's just a bucket in
he was
single
having so much
coverage.
fun in the mid range today.
Yes.
I do also think Derek White was showing some aggressiveness, especially early
Yep.
in the game, that I did enjoy, and I think that opened up some of the playmaking as well. So, yeah, all around, like the offense was flowing in a lot of ways, and I again, it's tough to say, like, the competition we were facing wasn't exactly the stiffest, but anytime you score 80 points in a half, you're happy with that. It's just I wish that it had been a little bit tighter on the
You're not
defensive
down
end.
for the 7 seconds or less Celtics?
If they were better at it, then I would be.
We don't have to. We shouldn't go through every player's stat line, but I do want to take a quick Sam Hauser victory lap after this game. I know on the
I
last,
did know that this was coming. Yeah.
yeah. So on the last episode,
Hmm.
you had the prediction that he would not be able to get back to 35% from three for the season. After this game, do you 35%? Yeah. How much after with this game incorporated, what do you think he's shooting from three?
36%. Okay. Yeah,
So
that's
I
fair.
will. Now there was one play in that fourth quarter where he made a three, but Jordan Walsh got fouled off ball,
I did notice
and they
that.
called
Yeah,
it like they didn't count the
they
shot.
waved off the
If he
basket.
had made that shot, he would have been over 35%
I want to be
in one
clear.
game. Yeah.
I want to be very clear. I'm always happy when I neg a player and they immediately respond by playing really well. I think that is good for the Celtics franchise in general. I'm going to keep staying on Sam Hauser, and the
Those are
more he proves me wrong, the better it is for the team, and that's fantastic.
fantastic.
I don't believe my argument was he wouldn't make it to 35% from three on the year. I didn't know if he was going to like be and because I was like league average, which was 35%, but it feels like that has changed because we have a lot of guys. It used to be exceptional for guys to shoot over 40% from three. That is really no longer the case. It feels like league average is higher in general from three right now. But it was more like I didn't know how effectively he was going to be able to become like a better than league average shooter again this season without the playmakers like Jason Tatum who specifically like get him those shots. But if he does, like that's fantastic. I'm not mad at that. I want Sam Hauser to hit all of his threes. That would be ideal for me.
That would be
Um,
great.
yeah.
Then we
Uh,
could be the 7 seconds or less Celtics if he shoots
A hundred
100%.
percent, yeah.
I
And
just,
so
I think
he's
my main
probably
point,
I haven't
yeah,
checked it, but he's probably now I did this bit last week. He's probably 32% Sam Hauser from the field
30,
goal percentage.
34.6.
From
I
the
think,
field goal.
well, what I'm saying is I think my main point here is just, I think it's silly when we do like percentage watch this early in the season when a guy's taken less than 100 shots. Because then each shot is going to make like a 4 point swing in like his percentage. So game to game, we could do like a Sam Hauser segment every week where we I don't know that that makes the best. Well, I think that if Jordan Walsh didn't get fouled, it would move that number, and Jordan Walsh getting fouled doesn't change what I think about Sam Hauser. Like it's a small enough sample size that like weird stuff like that can change a guy's 3 point percentage from below to above league average. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think like when we talk about percentages from various areas, we're used to having those conversations at the end of a season. So even like a quarter way through the season, guys are still going to have wild changes by the end of the season.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
less
all.
a statement of like, this is where I think Sam Hauser is going to end the season, and more of like, I don't love this current trend, and like, here's hoping he figures it out. But it's not like a sure thing that Sam Hauser's going to get back up to, again, where we expect him at like 42% where he was before.
Anybody else you had takeaways for this game?
Um, Yeah, Chris Boucher in extended minutes didn't do much for me. Baylor Shireman got a bunch of minutes, didn't do much for me. Ugo Gonzalez clearly is still on some kind of minutes limitation from his injury, but killed it in those minutes, as he
He
always
needs more
does.
minutes. We
He
need to
needs more minutes
find Hugo
always.
some
And
more
again,
minutes.
like 1 point, 1 rebound,
He looked
two
good on
assists.
drives
He
tonight.
was driving the ball comfortably, it looked like. He got us. Yeah, he was all over the place. He was a +9 in 9 minutes. We love Ugo, more of him always. And then yeah, I thought Jordan Walsh was like solid but not overly impressive. He also looked a little bit more aggressive at certain parts of the game offensively, which I enjoyed. Didn't have like the most measurable impact in terms of scoring, but like was out there, was active, was getting to the free throw line pretty effectively. And if he's able to do that and convert, then I'm very happy with that. But yeah, overall, just like this is a game that at the end of the day, I don't think is going to mean all that much, but I'm happier to have it in the win column than otherwise.
Yeah, it was an interesting Jordan Walsh game. I'm not sure what position he plays because
Yes, the answer to that is yes.
we seem to only use him as a ball handling stopper. Like he's really replaced Drew Holiday as our point of attack defender who can stay in front of a guy with the ball no matter what. This game we started out like first quarter with him on Desmond Bain, which caused some really weird like rotations for us because then Derek White's guarding Anthony Black, so Peyton Pritchard needs to then guard 6'10" and Tristan Da Silva. And like first play of the game, they're like, okay, well Tristan Da Silva is shooting. He has a
Yep.
foot advantage on this guy. And that's how they got their first points. Was just like you're gonna cover our one of our tallest guys with like 6'1" Peyton Pritchard. So I don't know. Like Jordan Walsh is awesome as a point of attack defender, and I think he'll be great like against Cade in the Pistons game, like he was last time we played them. And when we go up against these teams where they have like a Luca or like a big ball handling wing. He's great for those situations, but I don't love that so forced to use him on the main ball handler when we're going up against these teams where it's like the Magic where we have to put him on Desmond Bain for some reason, and then it kind of screws up all our other matchups.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also a feature of like if Paolo is in the game, then he's probably on Paolo, and you move everybody around, and Peyton Pritchard is probably on someone closer to his size. And so I think that that's a little bit of function of that. Yeah, I think he's like it's weird that he's a defensive specialist and his specialty is everyone. Um,
I don't know that it's everyone though, because he's playing the four technically, but I still don't know if he's strong enough to guard. Like he's not gonna guard Giannis, I don't think. Like I don't think
no,
he's has
I
the
don't think
strength to
anybody
guard
does.
like star power forwards. Like I think his athletic advantage over a lot of guys is just that he combines high level speed with that giant wingspan 6'8" frame. But if he's kind of we haven't really seen him be super effective guarding someone in the post. And especially in past years, his issue has always been that he's not strong enough to guard NBA players.
Yeah,
Um, so
I th-
he's really being used as defender in like very specific situations where Josh Minot can kind doesn't have that like high level defensive capability where he just like takes Tyrese Maxey out of a game, but he can kind of come in off the bench and just guard whoever like 1 through 4, 1 through 5.
Yeah, and I think when I'm like Jordan Walsh's specialty is everyone. Like I think he can guard 1 through 4, with the exception of like freaks that are impossible for most NBA players to guard, like Giannis. I do think the strength is valid. Like he still needs growth there, and in the post, I agree as well. Like a point of attack ball stopper, I think is a good way to describe it.
It's
But
super
I think,
valuable to have.
yeah, I
But
think what I
like
meant is
on
more like if there's a team that their point guard is the ball handler all the time and like is getting downhill, like put Jordan Walsh on them, fine. If it's their two guard who's like initiating the offense, put Jordan Walsh on them, fine. If it's their small forward, put Jordan Walsh on them, fine. If it's their power forward, unless it's someone who's like overwhelming people with sheer force, you can put Jordan like I think
Yeah, I think Giannis is probably a bad example. I think he
I'd
would
want to
have
see like
problems
Jordan
on
Walsh on
Isaiah Stewart
KD.
next week.
Yes, yeah. Because
Like
Isaiah
that's
Stewart like relies on I'm gonna back you down, get close to the basket, and like use I'm bigger than you and stronger than you. And I think that is a situation where Jordan Walsh will struggle. But if it's someone who relies a little bit more on like I'm gonna try to get by you, I think he's gonna thrive in those situations. Which is it's a useful thing. It's not a kind of like catch-all defender, which hopefully another year or two in the weight room he gets there. But for now, I'm happy with what he's showing on the defensive end.
you saying you want to see him on KD is going to be interesting just because they're playing KD at the 2 guard in Houston. So
Mm-hmm.
like he'll probably play on KD, but then does that move Peyton Pritchard to Steven Adams? Like who
Yeah, yeah.
who guards everybody else? Like he'll do a fine job.
Houston is a bizarre example because
Houston's a problem for
are
us.
they officially like the tallest starting five constructed in NBA history? Like they have to be,
They
right?
they were the tallest. They didn't even have Steven or their
Steven Adams
starting
is playing
lineup.
the three for them.
No, but their I don't believe they had Steven Adams. No, they did have Steven Adams in the lineup, but their opening night starting lineup was the tallest opening night starting lineup in
Yeah,
NBA
because it's like
history.
Thompson, KD, you've got Sengun, Adams, then I forget who the third one is.
Jabari Smith
Yes.
Jr.
Yeah, yeah,
who's
yeah.
6'11". So
Yeah.
like
Yeah, they tall. They tall.
yeah. I saw the list of all the other ones, and every other starting lineup that was close in like total height was just because they had like Rick Smits or like
Yeah.
some 7'8"
Minute
guy.
Bowl.
Yeah, it was just because they had one of those guys.
Yeah.
But Houston's just all 6'11" rebounding monsters.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting game for us. I have a couple. We've had a few trade rumors around the league
Hmm.
this week I want to get your thoughts on. Um, First, seems like the Kings are just willing to sell anybody. There's kind of a garage sale going on in Sacramento. And like a garage sale, you're not gonna get brand new items from a garage sale. You know,
Hmm.
you're not walking into Louis Vuitton. There's not. But do you see anything in the coming Sacramento fire sale that could be of interest?
Short answer, no. Um, I'm a Sabonis fan. I've always really liked his game. I like the playmaking that he provides at that position, but I don't think. I mean, are there players who I like on that Sacramento team that I think are good at basketball? Absolutely. Do I think any of them financially or play style wise are like a great fit for the Celtics? Not really. Sabonis is the one that I would really have my eye on. DeRozan is someone that I've heard linked to the Celtics before, and I don't think that makes a ton of sense, timeline wise or play style wise. Zach Levine, again, just doesn't really. Him and Jaylen Brown have too much overlap. I just don't really love the fit. And then the finances don't really make that much sense. But it does break my heart. I'm someone I've loved the Kings for a long time. I
Define a long time.
I
Are you an
am
OG Kings fan?
since De'Aaron Fox got drafted, I would say. I'm someone I am a diehard Celtics fan, and there are 10 other NBA teams that I just kind of quietly also really enjoy. I
I
really
was
like
gonna
the
challenge you to go break
Timberwolves,
out. I was gonna
Vlade
challenge you to go
Divac,
break
give me
on.
Chris
Yeah.
Webber all day. No, no, no. But no, I have little pet teams that I like and want to see succeed. And the Kings are one of those teams, and they just always find a way to mess it up, and that sucks. But I am curious what kind of returns they can get for these guys, who again are those contracts. Some of them are looking a little like not albatrossy, but it's like contenders might not have room or inclination to like pay top dollar value for Zach LaVine right now. So I'm curious to see what they get out of it. Hopefully they can kickstart another like half rebuild kind of situation that doesn't really like they draft okay sometimes and then trade the talented players that they draft. So it's tough to be a Sacramento fan. My heart goes out to you, but I'm curious to see what happens there. What about
I
you? Do you
don't
have
think they'll
anybody that you have
be.
your eye on?
This doesn't make sense from a positional point of view, because really right now our hole is at center and we have a ton of wings. But Keon Ellis, that guy's gonna
Yeah,
be a player. Like that
yeah,
dude is good. Like he insane defender, insane physical tools, can really
I
shoot the
love him on
ball.
defense.
And he's another one of these guys that gets drafted by the Kings and then they seem really high on him and then they're like, "No, we got to like get DeRozan minutes out there to really accomplish a 36 win season." And
Yeah,
then he's going to pop with whoever his next team is. I'm a Celtics fan, so I'd love it to be with us, but we have so many guys who play that position right now. Um, like
there are
another
guys
one
like
they
I would
had,
put Keon Ellis over some like if he was on this team, he would be getting as many
he
minutes as
could
he
get
wanted,
Baylor
and I
Shireman
wouldn't.
minutes.
Oh,
He,
Hunter, you could take all of Baylor. Please take Baylor
yeah.
Shireman.
So
Um,
he's on a reasonable deal. Like financially, it could work pretty easily. He's making 2.6, which like if
that's
they
the thing
wanted
with the
Xavier
Kings is
Tillman,
like yeah, they can have Xavier Tillman and Baylor Shireman, and I wouldn't even blink twice. But
like,
it really is like the Kings can't ever get out of their own way in a whole host of ways, like financially and draft development and asset management and all of those things. Is that someone that they hold on to, or are they just like we're giving everything up for sale? Because Keon Ellis is someone that like no matter what you are kind of like building towards next, if you have him on a longer term deal for cheap, like you kind of want to ride that out and hope that you can convince him for an extension or something. But
well, they decided not to extend him, and they've been giving him a lot of DMPs. Like he'll get a DNP, then play 30 minutes, then get a DNP coach's decision. Like
yeah,
they're just being very Sacramento Kings about this.
there,
So
yeah,
I can just see the opportunity there. The other one that they had was Davion Mitchell has been great this season.
he's a really good player.
Yeah. I mean they had him, Fox, and Tyrese Halliburton, and somehow just don't have a point guard.
They
Which
Sacramento'd it.
yeah, they Sacramento'd it. Um
Like, let's start using that as a verb.
Next one I had, apparently Grizzlies have been making calls to gauge Ja's value.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Ja's value is? And any chance you'd want Ja in the Celtics? It would have to be like an Anthony Simons plus picks kind of a thing.
Does the money work with just like how much else
It
do we have
would,
to include salary wise?
um, I believe it would be like Sam Hauser would need to be in the deal
Yeah, I
because he's
figured
making
that
like high
it's more like
30s.
is it Sam Hauser and Pritchard in the deal, or can we get there with just Simons and Hauser kind of a
We can
thing?
keep Pritchard. I think the like exact money would be like Sam Hauser, Simons, and a minimum or something like that.
Okay, so send Baylor Shireman to Memphis because once Ja is here, Xavier Tillman becomes useful again because
Oh,
John
that's
Morant will
right.
find his joy. Um,
Yes.
no, I think where I view John Morant's value, I think is evident in that they're making calls to gauge his value. You don't go cold calling teams about like a superstar player unless you realize like, oh shit, is not his value is not. I think they've been kind of expecting the market. Like everybody in the league has been like, it's clearly not working out there. And I think they maybe hoped that they would get an influx of phone calls of teams clamoring about him. And that did not happen. I think some of the hypothetical kind of trade packages that have seemed the most realistic were compared to what Ja's perception, and there are still some people in the league who still view him as the Ja Morant of a couple of years ago and are a little bit delusional about that. He's not that guy. He is not face of the league superstar Ja Morant. I saw a stat since Klay Thompson tore his ACL and his Achilles. Klay Thompson has played in significantly more, like 150 more NBA games than Ja Morant. Ja Morant is not that guy, and is on a 30 something million-dollar deal. So, for that reason, and the fact that he can't seem to like fit into a healthy team culture, no, I do not want him on the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is gonna seem like a long walk for a small drink of water. But I think the issue I have with John Morant is that he lacks a self-awareness in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Like this week he when they were playing the Dallas Mavericks, he got caught on Mike calling Klay Thompson a bum. He was like, "You're a
Mm-hmm.
bum now" after the game, which, like you pointed out, he doesn't play as much as Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's a lot older than him, and has kind of accomplished a lot more. That I think what John Morant used to bring
Klay Thompson will have a better career than Ja Morant,
already has.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think anybody would argue the counter. Like,
I think there are still people who believe Ja Morant is that guy, and I'm telling you right now, like his career is not going to be as successful as Clay's.
I don't think anyone would. I don't think that. I think that island is
We're on
empty now.
we're on
I think
different sides of the internet. Some people are fucking crazy, man.
you gotta get off.
I'm trying.
This is some like deep truth social stuff over there. But I was gonna say, like, what he brought when he was at his best wasn't just the athleticism, but he was also a really good leader to that group of young guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of brought like a brashness that he could back up with his play. And now that his play has declined, it feels like he doesn't kind of know what he is in the league or how to affect a game. Like he's kind of unable to take that step back. Yeah, so I also don't want him on the Celtics. I think that if I was John Morant, I'd love to be on like I should try to go to a team like the Heat or the Celtics where they have like an ingrained culture and a coach and a GM who are running things, so I don't have to kind of be the franchise right now. Because I think that is the other problem that in Memphis, if he isn't the old John Morant, they lose games. Um, like we saw when the Celtics played them and John Morant was out. Like the what he's getting from the rest of that team isn't enough to make the playoffs, even if he was the old John Morant.
Yeah, I
Next
think
one I
Miami's
had.
the best fit for him just culture wise. I think he just needs somebody to tell him no, like very loudly into his face. Which is why, for one, it would be really funny to watch him and Joe Mazzulla interact. Like, I think that would be a huge wake up call for John.
Yeah, I don't know. Like John Morant, I also don't want to like he does have like a competitive fire in him that I think Joe would like. I don't want to make him out to just be like a toxic player. Like there have been seasons where he's really like taking guys under his wing. He's really gotten guys together and built like a lot of camaraderie on that team. When he's been in the playoffs, he's always like really upped his game for those playoff series. But athletically, he's declined because of these injuries. Hopefully, he gets back. He hasn't. And I just don't know um, kind of where he goes from here since it seems like honestly Jaron Jackson's also fallen off, but just in a quieter way the last, 2 seasons. I think the problem with him going to Miami is just that Tyler Hero's probably better at this point. Tyler Hero plays more games. Um, you're not putting the Wiggins contract in the deal because he's been awesome this season. Davion Mitchell, like we mentioned, has also probably just a better point guard at this point. Like he's averaging 10 assists and is a lockdown defender. Um, so I think it would be great for Ja to kind of get in one of those cultures where it's not all on him every day because it's a lot of heavy lifting to be the guy and the leader and face all kind of the pushback when the team doesn't do well. So I think it would be really good for him to get on that one of those teams or a team with like a cemented superstar where he can be kind of a number two. And if he doesn't have it for a given night, it doesn't feel like it's the end of the world. So like I could honestly see him and Joe Mazzulla getting along great. Um, but with the money, it's just kind of hard to get him to one of those places.
Yeah. I
It's
wonder
much more likely
if,
he ends up with the Kings,
yeah, I wonder if there's any world where he's kind of a little bit of like a almost a last gasp for somebody, a team who's trying to hang on to somebody. Of like, if Rollins wasn't killing it in Milwaukee, I would think like, oh, maybe they just try something to kind of appease Giannis or something
Yeah.
like that. But it's tough. I'm going to be interested to see what happens. Again, I think it comes down to what you said of like, I don't doubt that. Like, I loved Ja as a competitor. Like during that prime Ja era, it was fantastic to watch. There was kind of that like argument of like Ja versus Anthony Edwards, and I was like a Ja guy. Um, but it is that self awareness thing of like, no, man, like out of you and Clay Thompson right now, you are the bum, and you need to like recognize that a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
when I started saying I was going on a long walk for a small drink of water, John Morant reminds me a lot of Joe Rogan, where I don't think Joe Rogan this is
mm-hmm,
a take.
mm-hmm,
I find
yeah,
Joe Rogan funny.
yeah,
I don't think Joe Rogan knows why he's funny,
mm-hmm,
if that makes sense. Like I remember Joe Rogan once said, "It is better to be a warrior standing in a garden than it is to be a gardener in the fog of war." And he said that because somebody asked him why he does kettlebell workouts. And that's a really funny thing to say when somebody's like, "Hey, why are you doing kettlebell workouts?" But
yeah.
he would took it like it was just a serious response. He was just like, "I want to be a warrior standing in a garden."
100%.
Um,
Yeah.
Jaws like that, where I think he has had a lot of success in this league. It's hard to tell somebody who's made $100 million at something that they're not successful at that.
Yeah.
And he's gotten that success by being like an emotional guy out there and caring a lot if his team wins or loses. And right now, they don't have a team around him that can win games. I think his like the wings he's playing with right now in the starting lineup are probably the worst wings of any NBA team. Like they're not even starting Cedric Howard yet.
Yeah.
So the like KCP looks bad. Jaron Jackson does not look engaged at all. So I just don't think John Morant really has a different mode to go to where he can be like, okay, I'm gonna try to like play efficiently and work on these other things while we're having a bit of a down season. I'm gonna get my body together. I think he just puts a lot into every game and doesn't have the self. He talks crap to Klay Thompson, which everybody loved a few years ago when he was winning against the Warriors in these like upset games and he was getting in Draymond's face. But now that he's on a different team and he's producing at a different level, he doesn't have the self awareness to say, like, okay, I need to take a step back and figure out what's next and how we can kind of rebuild from here.
Yeah. Real quick, if if Memphis decides to move on from Ja and are not able to get a kind of if what they get offered and what they end up taking is a kind of future forward package of drafts, assets, or young players that are clearly pivoting away, combined with the assets that they got from the Desmond Bain trade. Uh, if Triple J hits the market, I know that he has declined. You mentioned
Oh,
like
I
he looks
still I love
right.
him. I
Yeah, I
think
love Triple J,
Triple
and
J.
the fact that he looks disengaged more than he looks bad or
Yeah,
incapable. Um, and
I
Triple
just
J
don't know
is
if we have. They're getting picks, a lot of picks for Triple J. I think he's the
yeah,
trade piece that another team would come in and steal. But if he hits the market and they're willing to take Anthony Simons and two firsts, like make the call, you know?
yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page
Same
with that
page.
because
Yeah.
yeah,
I think we're more likely to be able to like sneak in and Santi Aldama would be great.
hmm,
I like him, but like I think this year we're more in the market for like smaller piece guys
yeah,
than kind of going big fish hunting like that. But yeah, I think anybody who could trade for Triple J would be smart too.
yeah.
Last
Who
one I
else?
had,
Yes.
there's been a little bit of LaMelo Ball smoke.
Hmm.
I saw it reported by like not Shams that the Celtics were monitoring the situation. A reporter put out that LaMelo is frustrated and would be open to a trade. LaMelo has denied this. He responded with the clown emoji on X to the report.
Hmm.
But from what I've heard, it does seem like he's not happy that he's on a losing team this far into his career. And he would probably like to be on a team that's winning. I don't think he's requested a trade or anything like that, but there might be a little bit of smoke there. Do you have any interest in LaMelo as a target for the Celtics?
Not a single iota
Not a
in my
little bit.
body is interested in LaMelo on my basketball team. I am sure that he would love to be on a winning basketball team. I think the basketball team that he is currently on would love for him to play more than half of their games. Just he's not available. The last time LaMelo Ball played more than 50 games in a season, like Joe Biden was still comfortably in office and we thought everything was fine. um yeah, it's just he is chronically unavailable. He's a talented player, but that has not translated to wins. I think part of that you can chalk it up to like Charlotte is one of those franchises who I don't have love for them like I do for Sacramento, but like Charlotte will find a way to ruin everything they touch. So I don't blame him necessarily for them not being able to win games. I think that he's been like in some rosters that like had flawed construction. But part of that is those rosters also were relying on him to be healthy and available for all their games, and he just hasn't been.
Yeah, I think my best guess is that this all goes away when Brandon Miller comes back from injury. That he's really their second best player. Con Knippel's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. Like
I like him a
he
lot.
would win it right now. So having those two guys on the wing is going to help a lot. Cockbrenner, who's been their starting center this year, who I have been frustrated the Celtics didn't draft in the second round, has been looked really good. He's still leading the league in field goal percentage. So just having like two really kind of high level young wings that are in his time frame and a young, efficient run and dunk center, I think will be fun enough to play with that this kind of fizzles over in the end. I will say I've always wanted to see Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown with like a elite level playmaker, like a LaMelo
Yes.
Ball.
Yeah.
That I remember we've always talked about how Chris Paul would be a great fit with those guys, where both of the Jalen and Jason both can play make, but it would be awesome to see them in a system where they're getting the ball and just being wide open because we almost never see that. And the
Yes.
championship year was probably the year they had the most playmaking around them, where Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, and Drew Holiday could all kind of chip in a little bit of playmaking and setting up the offense. And since we lost Drew Holiday, it was probably the best playmaker out of the group. Um, I just don't know when Tatum comes back if the whole offense is just going to be like Tatum at the top of the key being the playmaker all the time. And I think getting a point guard in kind of the LaMelo mold would really help a lot of guys we already have. Um, just because it would like he makes the guys on his team's lives so much easier with his ability to like just find them no matter where he is on the court. And we've talked about how we don't have a lot of great lob passers on this team, and Queta just seems to always be open. That I think a player like LaMelo Ball, who has that size to see over the defense and can pass like he can, would just open up so many doors for different guys on this team. So I
Yeah.
am, you could say I'm LaMelo curious, but
Hmm.
I do think the games played is a concern. Um, the defense is a little bit of a concern just because he's never played defense, and like we've seen with Anthony Simons, it's kind of hard to flip that switch when you
Yeah.
go to a good team. Um, so depending on the price, but my guess is it's just smoke that'll fizzle away.
Yeah. Just because you mentioned it, quick shout out to Chris Paul announcing his
Yeah.
retirement. Sad to see. Um, he is someone that, again, like, and credit to LaMelo, like, there aren't that many guys who can just walk into the league and every season you can chalk them up for 10 plus assists a game. That is like special. That is a talent. And it would be really nice to see someone like that on the Celtics team because our star players have never had someone like that. I think LaMelo checks a lot of boxes kind of theoretically in that he provides that, but also, provides shooting, provides scoring, provides physical size, and like has all the tools to be really successful. And part of it might just be like he's not in the best system. Part of it, maybe he hasn't had the best support. And then the rest of it is kind of availability and injury. But yeah, I think I still hope that someday that 10 plus assists a game player comes our way. I think a lot of those guys also come with limitations of like, oh, Trey Young couldn't do that, but then there's the defense and the size. It's tough to find a modern playmaker like that who checks as many boxes as LaMelo does. So it
Ben
is
Simmons is
interesting,
still a
but
free agent.
you know,
Um,
you're laughing, but I have like if Kata's gonna be out for like Ben Simmons is someone that like if you could convince me that he was actually going to play basketball games, I
no one
would
can
not.
convince you that.
No one can, but like that would be great. Like a Ben Simmons type would be really cool if he was the Ben Simmons that he was capable of being instead of the Ben Simmons that he became.
Yeah, I pass it. High level passers like that are hard to come by and come with limitations. It's one of the things that makes Sabonis interesting. Just like
Yeah.
having a center who can play make like that. I think Pritchard's stepped up in a big way in his playmaking this season. He's kind of taken on being the starting point guard and is trying to get guys in the right spots. Uh,
I think Pritchard's
but
a very solid passer, but not a
but
creative
no,
passer.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been since Rondo, we really haven't had like a all NBA level, like guy who might lead the league in assists type.
No. I
We've
think
kind of just
Marcus
been,
Smart, when he became like the purest point guard version of himself, was showed like a creativity with his passes, but was never like racking up 10 assists like that.
yeah, Marcus was great, but I don't think he ever averaged over
Yeah.
5. Um, so yeah, I would love to see a version of the Celtics with somebody like that on it, but I think what's much more likely is we just add kind of a guy to replace some of that Drew Holiday playmaking of kind of like a third guard or, you know, Hugo can increase his usage a little bit and take some of that playmaking. And we'll kind of keep doing it by committee like we have really, since those Rondo years. Cool. Um, yeah, that'll be it for this episode of Jays and Confused. Thanks for listening, and we'll see
We
you next
will
time.
see you after the Detroit game, which we will absolutely dominate in.
Oh, yeah.